Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U-East horizon, watching the stars through the main window. The ship moved slowly through the Kepler 442 system, checking planets for signs of life. It was just another day for the crew. They had been doing this kind of work for 3 months now. The year was 2387. Humans had built homes on 17 different star systems. Life was good for most people. Earth was still the main world, but the colonies were growing fast. Each new planet brought new challenges, but humans always found ways to make things work. Jake had been a ship captain for 12 years. He liked the quiet of space and the excitement of finding new things. His crew was small but skilled. They all knew their jobs well. The Horizon was not the biggest ship in the human fleet, but it was reliable and fast. Dr. Lisa Parker worked at her science station, studying readings from the nearby planets. She was the best scientist Jake had ever worked with. Lisa could figure out almost anything about alien life forms. She had discovered 6 new species in the past year alone. Engineer Danny Rodriguez kept the ship running smoothly. He could fix anything that broke and make things work better than they were supposed to. Danny liked to joke that he could make a broken coffee maker fly to the moon if he had enough tape and wire. The ship's communication officer, Karen Bell, monitored all the radio signals in the area. Most of the time, space was quiet. Today felt different, though. She kept getting strange readings on her equipment. Small blips that appeared and disappeared too fast to track. Jake was drinking his morning coffee when everything changed. The space around them began to shimmer like heat waves on a hot day. The stars seemed to bend and twist. And the first ship appeared. It was huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. The hull was silver and seemed to glow with its own light. The ship looked like it was made of liquid metal that flowed and changed shape. More ships began to appear around it. Soon there were dozens of them, all massive and beautiful and impossible. Danny dropped his tools and stared out the window. Lisa's mouth fell open. Karen tried to speak, but no words came out. Even Jake, who had seen many strange things in space, could not believe what he was seeing. The alien ships were the size of small moons. They moved without making any sound. The silver light from their hulls made the darkness of space seem warm. Each ship had a different shape, but they all looked like they were alive. Somehow. Jake found his voice first. Karen tried to contact them. Use all frequencies. Karen's hands shook as she worked on her controls. I'm trying, Captain, but they're not responding to any of our signals. Lisa ran scans on the alien ships. Her equipment could not understand what they were made of. The readings made no sense. Captain, these ships are not built from any material we know. They seem to be made of energy held together by some kind of force field. Danny stared at the ships and whispered, "How do they even fly?" There are no engines. No exhaust, nothing. They just float there like they don't care about physics. One of the alien ships moved closer to the horizon. It was graceful, like a dancer, in the void. As it approached, the human ship's lights began to flicker. The alien vessel stopped just a few hundred meters away. Jake felt something strange in his mind. It was like a whisper, but not with words. The feeling was warm and ancient, and very, very old. He looked at his crew and saw that they felt it too. Then the voice came, speaking directly into their thoughts. It was not harsh or frightening. It sounded like wind through leaves or water flowing over stones. Greetings, young ones. We are the Etherny. We have watched your species spread across the stars. You are interesting to us. Lisa stepped forward. Even though she was scared, I'm Dr. Lisa Parker. This is Captain Jake Morrison. We come in peace. We want to learn about you. The voice in their minds seemed pleased. We know of your peaceful nature. We have been watching you for some time. You are different from other young species we have encountered. You adapt in ways we do not understand." Jake found the courage to speak. "How long have you been watching us?" "Since your first ship left your home world. We watch all young species. It is our way. We have guided the galaxy for 50 million years. We maintain order and peace among the stars." The number was so large that Jake could hardly understand it. 50 million years. These beings had been alive since before humans existed. They had seen countless civilizations rise and fall. "We wish to learn more about your species," the voice continued. "You will come with us to our capital world. There you will be tested. All young species must prove their worth." Danny gulped. "What happens if we fail the test?" There was a long pause. When the voice spoke again, it was sadder. "Those who fail are removed from the galaxy. It is necessary for the greater good. Chaos must not be allowed to spread." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "And those who pass, they are uplifted. They join us in maintaining galactic order. They become part of something greater than themselves." Jake looked at his crew. They were all scared, but they were also curious. This was the greatest discovery in human history. First contact with beings older than their planet. "We accept your invitation," Jake said, "but we need to contact our government first. They should know what's happening." "You may send one message," the voice agreed, "but do not delay. The testing must begin soon. Time moves differently for us than for you." Karen quickly sent a message to Earth Command. She told them about the aliens and the test. She said they might not come back. Then she looked at Jake and nodded. The alien ship moved closer to the horizon. The silver light grew brighter. Jake felt his ship being pulled by some invisible force. They were not being captured. They were being invited. As the horizon was drawn into the alien ship, Jake wondered what the test would be like. He thought about the millions of humans living on distant worlds. Their fate might depend on what happened next. The last thing Jake saw before entering the alien ship was the stars. They looked different now, as if they were watching him. Everything in the galaxy was about to change, and he would be right in the middle of it. Lisa squeezed his hand. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together." Jake nodded. The unknown waited ahead, but humans had always been good at facing the unknown. They would find a way to survive, just like they always did. Horizon disappeared into the silver light, beginning a journey that would change the galaxy forever. The inside of the alien ship was like nothing Jake had ever seen. The walls glowed with soft blue light and seemed to move like water. There were no doors or windows, just spaces that opened when they needed to walk through. The floor felt solid, but looked like it was made of stars. Lisa kept her scanner running, but it could not understand anything around them. "The readings are impossible," she whispered. "This place exists in more dimensions than we can see." Danny reached out to touch a wall. His hand went through it like it was made of air, but when he leaned against it, it held his weight. "This is breaking every law of physics I know." Karen stayed close to the group. The alien ship made no sound, but she could feel vibrations in her bones. It was like the ship was alive and breathing around them. A figure appeared in front of them. It was tall and made of light that shifted between gold and silver. The being had no face, but Jake could feel it watching them. When it spoke, the voice came from everywhere at once. "I am Zephyros. I will be your guide and judge. Follow me to the testing chamber." They walked through corridors that changed as they moved. Sometimes the ceiling was high above them. Sometimes it was just over their heads. The walls showed pictures of space, but Jake realized they were looking at real places, not recordings. "How many species have you tested?" Lisa asked. "Thousands," Zephyros replied, "each one different. each one hoping to prove their worth. Some succeed, most do not. They entered a vast room that seemed to stretch forever in all directions. In the center were 3 platforms made of crystal. Each platform glowed with a different color: blue, red, and green. The 3 tests, Zephyros explained: wisdom, power, and harmony. Every species must face all 3. You will be tested as individuals and as a group. Jake felt his heart beating fast. What exactly do we have to do? The test of wisdom comes first. You will face puzzles that have challenged civilizations for millions of years. Some require logic, some require understanding, some require seeing beyond what appears to be true. The blue platform began to glow brighter. A shape appeared above it, floating in the air. It looked like a sphere covered in symbols that moved and changed. The symbols were beautiful, but made no sense. This is the paradox of eternal return, Zephyros said. Every species that has passed this test found the same solution. You must unlock the pattern within 30 minutes. Lisa stepped forward first. She studied the symbols, trying to find connections. Danny joined her, looking at the shapes from different angles. Karen tried to see if the symbols matched any language patterns she knew. Jake watched the sphere turn slowly. The symbols kept changing, but he noticed something strange. They were not really changing. They were moving in circles, coming back to where they started. It's not about solving the puzzle, Jake said suddenly. It's about understanding that. There is no solution. The sphere shows eternal return. Everything comes back to where it began. The sphere stopped moving. The symbols froze in place. Then they all turned into the same simple symbol, a circle. Zephyros was quiet for a moment. Interesting. Most species spend the full 30 minutes trying to decode the symbols. You saw the truth in 5 minutes. The red platform began to glow. This was the test of power. A cube appeared above it, made of the same material as the alien ship. It looked solid but flowed like liquid. You must move the cube using only your mind, Zephyros explained. Other species use their psychic abilities or advanced technology. Show us your power. Lisa tried to concentrate on the cube. Nothing happened. Danny focused all his thoughts on it. Still nothing. Karen closed her eyes and imagined pushing it. The cube did not move. Jake felt embarrassed. We don't have psychic powers. Our technology is simple compared to yours. Danny suddenly had an idea. He pulled out his toolkit and started building something with spare parts from his belt. Maybe. We can't move it with our minds, but we can build something that can. He worked quickly, connecting wires and circuits. The device he built was ugly and made strange noises, but it created a small electromagnetic field. When he pointed it at the cube began to wobble. It's working. Lisa shouted. The cube moved slowly across the platform. It was not graceful or powerful, but it moved. Danny's crude device had accomplished what their minds could not. Zephyros seemed surprised. You created a solution instead of using an existing ability. This is unusual. The green platform lit up last. This was the test of harmony. Above it appeared images of the 4 humans. You must achieve perfect unity, Zephyros explained. Your thoughts, your goals, your actions must become one. Other species meditate together until they think as a single mind. Jake looked at his crew. They were all different people with different ideas. Lisa was logical and careful. Danny was creative and impulsive. Karen was diplomatic but honest. Jake himself was stubborn and protective. We don't think the same way, Jake said. We argue about things. We disagree. That is why most species fail this test, Zephyros replied. Unity requires giving up individual thought. But something strange happened. Instead of trying to think alike, the humans started doing what they always did. They began to argue. Lisa wanted to approach the problem scientifically. Danny wanted to build something. Karen wanted to find a compromise. Jake wanted to protect his crew. As they argued, their images above the platform began to move. They were not moving together, but they were moving in a pattern. Each person's different approach created a different part of a larger design. "Look," Lisa said, pointing up. "We're not supposed to be the same. We're supposed to be different parts of the same team." The images above the platform formed a complex pattern that was beautiful because each part was unique. The humans were not in harmony despite their differences. They were in harmony because of their differences. The three platforms went dark. Zephyros stood silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was confused. "In 50 million years, no species has ever approached the tests this way. You solved the paradox of eternal return by seeing its simplicity. You passed the test of power by creating instead of using. You achieved harmony by embracing discord." Jake felt proud but also worried. Did we pass or fail? "I do not know," Zephyros admitted. "You have broken every rule we have established. The council must decide what to do with you." As they left the testing chamber, Jake wondered what would happen next. They had not failed the tests, but they had not passed them in the expected way either. They had done something new, something that had never happened before. The fate of humanity now lay in the hands of beings older than their world. All they could do was wait and hope that being different was not the same as being wrong. Zephyros led the humans through more impossible corridors to a room that seemed to exist in the heart of a star. The walls were made of pure light, and figures moved within them like ghosts. These were the Ethany Council, being so old they had watched galaxies being born. Jake felt very small in this place. The council members were ancient beyond understanding. Some had existed since before the Earth formed. Others had been alive when the first stars lit up the universe. Their voices whispered in languages that had been forgotten for millions of years. "We have never seen anything like your species," said a council member whose voice sounded like wind through cosmic dust. "You confuse us. You break our understanding of how young species should behave." Lisa stepped forward, trying to be brave. "We didn't mean to confuse you. We just did what felt right to us." "That is exactly the problem," replied another council member. "Every species we have encountered follows predictable patterns. They choose order or chaos. They seek power or wisdom. They unite or divide. You do all of these things at once." Danny scratched his head. "Is that bad?" "We do not know," admitted the first council member. "In 50 million years, we have developed perfect systems for evaluating young species. Your species makes our systems useless." The council began to debate among themselves. Some wanted to eliminate humanity because they were too unpredictable. Others wanted to study them more. A few suggested that humans might be the next step in evolution. While the council argued, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Light in the room flickered and dimmed. Zephyros appeared beside them, his form more solid than before. "We are under attack," he said. "The Devourers have returned." Jake had never heard of the Devourers, but the fear in Zephyros's voice told him everything he needed to know. "Who are the Devourers?" "An ancient enemy. We thought we destroyed them long ago. They consume entire star systems, growing stronger. With each world they devour. They have been hiding in the void between galaxies, waiting for their chance to return." The room shook as something massive hit the Ethany ship. Through the walls of light, Jake could see dark shapes moving in space. These ships were not beautiful like the Ethany vessels. They were black and twisted, like metal that had been burned and bent. "How many of them are there?" Karen asked. "Thousands," Zephyros replied. "They have been breeding and building in the darkness. They are stronger than when we last fought them." Lisa watched the battle through the wall. The Ethany ships moved. in perfect formation, their weapons firing in precise patterns. But the Devourers seemed to know exactly what they would do. Every Etherne move was countered before it could be effective. "They're losing," Danny said quietly. "The Etherne are too predictable." Jake saw the problem immediately. The Devourers have been studying you for millions of years. They know how you fight. They know how you think. Your perfection has become your weakness. The council members stopped arguing and focused on the battle. Their perfect formations were being torn apart by an enemy that had learned all their tactics. "We need to change our approach," said one council member. "But we have fought this way for so long, we do not know how to be different." Jake had an idea, but it was crazy. "What if we help you?" The council members turned to look at him. "How could you help us?" "Your ships are primitive. Your weapons are weak." "Our ships are small and our weapons are weak," Jake agreed. "But we don't fight like you do. We're unpredictable. We adapt. We change our tactics in the middle of battle." Zephyros considered this. "You want to join the battle against the Devourers?" "I want to return to human space and bring back our military," Jake said. "Not to fight alongside you, but to fight like us. Maybe our chaos can break their understanding of your order." The council was silent for a long moment. The idea was unprecedented. They had never asked a young species for help. They had never needed help before. "It is too dangerous," said one council member. "If you fail, both our species will be destroyed." "If we do nothing, you'll be destroyed anyway," Lisa pointed out. "The Devourers are winning because they know exactly what you'll do next." Another explosion shook the ship. More Etherne vessels were being destroyed. Their perfect tactics were failing against an enemy that had evolved beyond their understanding. "We accept your proposal," Zephyros said suddenly. "But you must hurry. We cannot hold them for long." Jake felt relief and terror at the same time. "How long do we have?" "Our defenses will hold for perhaps 30 of your days. After that, the Devourers will break through to inhabited systems. Billions will die." The council quickly prepared to send the humans back to their ship. As they prepared to leave, one of the ancient beings spoke to Jake. "You realize that if your plan fails, we will have no choice but to eliminate your species before the Devourers can use you against us." Jake nodded. "We understand. But if we succeed, what happens then?" "If you succeed," the ancient being replied, "everything in the galaxy will change. The old ways will be over. We will have to learn new ways of existing." The humans were transported back to the horizon. As their ship prepared to leave, Jake looked back at the massive battle. The Etherne were still fighting with perfect precision, but they were losing. Their enemies had learned to counter perfection itself. "Set course for Earth," Jake ordered. "Maximum speed." As the horizon jumped to hyperspace, Jake wondered if they were making the right choice. Humanity was about to enter a war between gods. They were small and weak compared to both sides, but humans had always been good at surviving impossible situations. They adapted, they improvised, they found ways to win when they should have lost. Maybe that was exactly what the galaxy needed. Fate of every living being in the galaxy now depended on human chaos defeating ancient order. Jake just hoped they were up to the challenge. The horizon arrived at Earth after the fastest hyperspace jump Jake had ever made. The ship was damaged from the strain, but they had made it in time. Danny worked around the clock to keep the engines running while Jake contacted Earth Command. Admiral Ryan Cooper was a veteran of 3 colonial wars. He had fought pirates, hostile aliens, and rebel colonies. His ships were tough, and his crews were tougher. When Jake explained the situation, Cooper listened without interrupting. "So you want me to take the human fleet to fight enemies that have been alive for millions of years?" Cooper asked. "Yes, sir," Jake replied. "The Etherne are losing because they're too predictable. We need to show them how to be unpredictable. Cooper laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Son, unpredictable is what we do best. How many ships do you need? All of them, Jake said. Cooper gathered every available ship in the human fleet. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and even converted cargo vessels. The ships were old and patched, but they had survived countless battles. Each one had scars from different fights and different enemies. Colonel Beth Stone commanded the ground forces. She was small but fierce, with short red hair and eyes that missed nothing. Her soldiers were not the biggest or strongest in the galaxy, but they knew how to fight smart. The human fleet reached the battle zone, just as the Etherny defenses were about to collapse. The Devourers had surrounded the Etherny capital world, their dark ships blocking out the stars. The beautiful silver vessels of the Etherny were being torn apart by weapons that consumed light itself. This is Admiral Cooper to Etherny Command. Ryan broadcast, "We're here to help, but we do things our way." Zephyros appeared on the communication screen. "Admiral, your ships are so small. How can you fight such a large enemy?" "Watch and learn," Cooper replied with a grin. The human fleet did not form neat battle lines like the Etherny. Instead, they scattered in all directions, each ship moving independently. Some ships flew straight at the enemy. Others circled around. A few just sat still and waited. The Devourers had never seen anything like it. They were prepared for organized attacks, perfect formations, and logical tactics. The humans gave them none of these things. Commander Tony Lewis piloted his cruiser directly through a gap in the Devourer formation. His ship was too small to do much damage, but it confused the enemy. While they focused on him, other human ships attacked from different angles. Lieutenant Sam Davis flew her fighter in patterns that made no sense. She would dive toward a Devourer ship, then suddenly turn and attack a different target. The enemy. Weapons could not track her because she had no plan to track Danny. Rodriguez had been working with Etherny engineers to create new weapons. The devices they built should not have worked, but they did. They combined human creativity with Etherny technology in ways that broke the rules of both. "Deploy the Chaos Mines," Cooper ordered. These were Danny's strangest creation. They were mines that exploded randomly, sometimes immediately, sometimes after hours. The Devourers could not predict when or where they would go off. The random explosions created holes in their formations. Colonel Stone led a boarding party onto a Devourer ship. Her soldiers used tactics that seemed crazy but worked. They split up instead of staying together. They attacked from multiple directions at once. They made noise instead of staying quiet. The Devourers were built to fight perfect enemies. They could not understand chaos with a purpose. Every time they thought they had figured out the human pattern, the humans changed it. "The enemy is adapting," Zephyros warned. "They are learning from your tactics." "Ben will change our tactics," Cooper replied. Beth switched to Plan Fish. "Plan Fish?" Zephyros asked. "We don't have a Plan Fish," Stone replied over the radio. "We're making it up as we go." That was the point. The humans did not have fixed battle plans. They had general ideas and changed them as needed. The Devourers could not adapt to something that was constantly changing. The battle turned into chaos, but it was organized chaos. The humans seemed to be flying and fighting randomly, but there was a pattern underneath. Each ship knew its job, even if that job changed every few minutes. Jake watched from the horizon as Commander Lewis made his final attack. His ship was damaged and losing power, but he aimed it straight at the largest Devourer vessel. "For Earth," he shouted as his ship rammed into the enemy. The explosion tore a hole in the Devourer formation. Human ships poured through the gap, their weapons blazing. The Etherny followed, their perfect formations finally broken by human example. The final Battle took place in the Maelstrom Nebula, where space itself was twisted and dangerous. The Ethony would normally avoid such a place, but the humans led them right into it. "We're crazy to fight here," Danny said as he watched the space around. "Them bend and twist." "Exactly," Cooper replied. "The Devourers expect us to be logical. Let's be completely illogical instead." The human ships used the chaos of the nebula to their advantage. They appeared and disappeared in the twisted space, attacking from impossible angles. The Devourers, trying to maintain their perfect formations, became confused and vulnerable. Lieutenant Davis made the final move that won the war. She flew her fighter straight up through a spacefold, appearing directly above the Devourer command ship. Her attack was so unexpected that the enemy shields failed. The Devourer command ship exploded in a burst of dark energy. Without their leader, the other Devourer ships became confused. Some retreated. Others just stopped fighting. The ancient enemy was finally defeated. As the battle ended, Cooper looked around at his damaged fleet. Many ships were gone. Many good people had died, but they had won an impossible victory. "Admiral," Sephiroth said, "your tactics make no sense to us. How did you know they would work?" Cooper smiled sadly. "We didn't know. We just hoped. Sometimes hope is all you need." The war was over, but Jake knew that everything was about to change. Humans had proven that chaos could defeat order, that unpredictability could overcome perfection. The galaxy would never be the same. The silence after the battle was strange. For the first time in weeks, no weapons were firing. No ships were exploding. The Devourers were gone, scattered or destroyed. The space around the Ethony capital world was filled with wreckage from both sides. Admiral Cooper stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the damage. Half of his fleet was gone. Good people had died to save a galaxy they barely knew. But they had won. Somehow, they had actually won. Jake brought the horizon alongside Cooper's ship. Through the window, he could see the Ethony capital world glowing in the distance. The beautiful planet seemed different now, less perfect, but more alive. Sephiroth appeared on the communication screen. His form was dimmer than before, as if the battle had drained his energy. "Admiral Cooper, Captain Morrison, the Council wishes to speak with you." This time, the meeting took place on the surface of the capital world. Jake walked on ground that felt solid, but looked like flowing starlight. The air smelled like ozone and distant rain. Everything here was beautiful, but it no longer felt untouchable. The council chamber was smaller than before. Many of the ancient beings who had judged humanity were gone, destroyed in the battle. Those who remained seemed changed, less certain of themselves. "We owe you a debt we cannot repay," said the eldest council member. "You saved not just our species, but all life in the galaxy." Cooper removed his hat. "We lost good people in this fight. They died for something bigger than themselves. That's payment enough." Jake stepped forward. "What happens now?" "The war is over, but everything has changed." The council members looked at each other. For 50 million years, they had known exactly what to do in every situation. Now they seemed lost. "We do not know," admitted one of them. "Our perfect order has been shattered. We thought we understood the universe, but your species has shown us we were wrong." Lisa had been studying the Ethony technology during the battle. "You're not wrong about everything. You've brought peace to the galaxy for millions of years. That's not nothing. But that peace came at a cost," Sephiroth said. "We made everything the same. We stopped growth. We stopped change. The galaxy became frozen in time." Danny had been working with Ethony engineers to repair damaged ships. "Maybe that's what you needed then. But maybe now you need something different." The eldest council member floated closer to the humans. "What do you suggest?" Jake thought carefully before answering. "Partnership, Not uplift, not elimination. Work together. You have knowledge and power. We have adaptability and creativity. Together, we might create something new. A civilization based on both order and chaos? Another council member asked. That should not be possible. A lot of things we did in. This war should not have been possible, Cooper pointed out. But they worked. The negotiations took days. The Etherne had never made a treaty with equals before. They had always been the teachers, never the students. Humans had never dealt with beings older than their planet. Both sides had to learn. New ways of thinking. The agreement they reached was unlike anything in galactic history. The Etherne would share their knowledge and technology. Humans would share their adaptability and innovation. Neither species would rule the other. Dr. Lisa Parker became the first director of the Joint Research Institute. The facility existed partially in normal space and partially in dimensions that humans were just learning to understand. Scientists from both species worked together on projects that neither could complete alone. The technologies they developed seemed impossible. Ships that could exist in multiple places at once. Weapons that grew stronger through controlled conflict. Cities that adapted to their inhabitants instead of forcing inhabitants to adapt to them. Admiral Cooper took command of the first integrated fleet. Human ships flew alongside Etherne vessels, their combined capabilities far greater than either could achieve alone. The fleet's mission was to explore beyond the galaxy's edge, seeking new challenges and opportunities. Colonel Stone established training programs where Etherne and human soldiers learned from each other. The Etherne taught precision and discipline. Humans taught improvisation and adaptation. The result was warriors unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. But the changes went deeper than technology and military tactics. Across the galaxy, species that had been locked in Etherne-imposed peace for millions of years began to grow again. They started exploring, creating, fighting, and making peace in new ways. Some species struggled with the change. They had become so used to perfect order that they did not know how to handle freedom. Others embraced it eagerly, rushing into conflicts and adventures. They had forgotten how to have. Jake found himself working as a mediator, helping species adapt to the new galaxy. It was harder work than exploring empty space, but more rewarding. Every problem they solved made the galaxy a little bit better. Years passed. The partnership between humans and Etherne grew stronger. They learned from each other, changing both species in the process. Humans became more thoughtful and wise. Etherne became more creative and flexible. Jake stood on the observation deck of a new type of starship, one that existed partially in normal space and partially in human imagination. Beside him, Zephyros had taken a more solid form, appearing almost human, but still glowing with ancient light. Do you ever regret what we started? Jake asked. Zephyros considered the question. For 50 million years, we sought perfection. We thought it was the highest goal. Now we understand that perfection is death. Growth is life. Through the window, they could see young species across the galaxy beginning their own journeys into space. Some would succeed, some would fail, but all would have the chance to try. The galaxy was alive again, growing and changing and becoming something new. What do you think will happen next? Jake asked. Zephyros smiled, an expression he had learned from humans. I do not know. For the first time in my existence, the future is uncertain. It is terrifying and wonderful. Jake nodded. Uncertainty was something humans knew well. It was scary, but it was also full of possibilities. The galaxy would face new challenges, make new mistakes, and find new solutions. The age of perfect order was over. The age of controlled chaos had begun. And, for the first time in 50 million years, anything was possible.